Never, ever come over to my house again, you low-life dog! I am never allowing you to marry my son and become a part of my family!
If there was anything wrong I said to you today that may have upset you as much as you are now, I'm sorry.
It wasn't anything you said. You yourself are what's wrong and why I am offended by you. And considering that you are nothing more than my son's fiancé, don't you ever reference me as your father-in-law again. Nobody ever said that I wanted to be anything more to you than a stranger. And of course, you're no longer his fiancé anymore, so forget about calling me anything else besides Mr. Johnson.
No way. Why won't you let me get married to Tanner?
Tedious! You actually think I want to explain to you again why I won't let my son marry the daughter of some low-life factory worker? I want your low-life father to see what his daughter looks like being drenched in that freezing cold water!
I don't care what it is you have against me. Throwing a whole bucket of icy water on me like that and then kicking me out was a poor move.
You... Cecilia, was it? I am not allowing you to marry my son, and that makes you nothing more than a stranger to him now. And that means a complete stranger and a lowlife like yourself will have nothing to do with my family anymore. I'm sure you hate the fact that your father happens to be some filthy factory worker now. Factory workers are nothing more than dirty little idiots covered in the oil of their machinery, risking their life doing all that manual labor, working for nothing more than some spare change like the fools they are. In other words, that makes your father nothing more than low-life scum. They can't study like the rest of us can, and that's why their only option was working using their bodies and not their minds. Seeing them live in such a pathetic way gives me the creeps, like having to look at a bunch of mindless cockroaches scurrying around. And you think I'd ever let my son marry the little brainless brat that came out of such a slimy cockroach's testy?
Working as a factory worker is a very important and well-respected job. Why do you think you have the right to do such a thing to me and say such things about my dad?
Because I happen to be on a completely different level above all of you. I happen to be a department leader within a very large company, and my job is to instruct a bunch of my subordinates on what they should do. That means I have the right to judge others by their work and make decisions for them. And if you didn't know this already, my company has a factory of its own, and all of those that work at said factory are mine to command. And if your father were to be like one of them, then that would mean his daughter would be at my command as well. Doesn't that make sense to you? Oh, seems that time has been getting past me now. Unlike you, I don't have all the time in the world to just sit and chat. Now would you please scurry off like your disgusting father and leave my yard at once?
No way. Dad, are you at home right now?
What's going on, Cecilia? Weren't you supposed to be going back to Tanner's parents' house today? I feel like you're coming home way earlier than what was to be expected.
I was kicked out of their house by Tanner's dad.
You were kicked out of their house by him? Did you say something inappropriate to one of them?
That's what I thought I'd done as well when I was first sent out. But I had only been talking about the kind of work you do, and I told his dad about how you're working in a factory currently. The moment I said that to him, he started saying that you're nothing but a factory-working lowlife.
So that means he's looking down on us based on my line of work?
Also, as he was kicking me out of his house, he threw a bucket of icy water all over me. And I was left in the front yard of their house, freezing in the cold.
What did you say? Where are you right now, then?
I was afraid to call for a taxi since I'm drenched and didn't want to completely soak the inside of their taxi. And considering the house isn't too far from here, I decided to just start walking back home even though I'm shivering.
What are you thinking, Cecilia? You think you can make the 2-hour walk all the way back home in this kind of freezing cold? Can you take a second to find somewhere warm to sit and wait for me? I'll bring you a change of clothing so that you can get changed before I bring you home.
But what about your car seats?
You think I actually care that much about the leather seats in my car? Just find a place to wait for me that'll be warm, and I'll come and get you real soon.
All right. There's a cafe close to me, so I'll step inside there for a bit and wait for you to come.
Make sure to get yourself a coffee or something to help warm yourself back up, please. I'll be there in 30 minutes or so, so please take a seat and warm up. We can talk more about this in the car on the way back home, okay? Just for right now, get warmed up and wait for me.
Will do. Thank you so much for doing that, Dad.
So, what's it going to be? Are you going to be giving up on marrying my son forever now? I've made sure to have my son block your number, so that means you'll never be able to get in touch with him again, I'm sure. Had I let my son talk to a low-life daughter like you for any longer, my family's image, which I've spent all my life making perfect, would be stained.
Why would you say such things? Not only does my dad, but all of those men who work their butts off in factories everywhere take great pride in their work.
They only take pride in it so that they have at least something to live for. When it comes to those working in factories, or any kind of trade for that matter, they're all so worthless that they can't even use their brains to make money. In other words, they're just like cows and horses. The only thing that makes us humans different from animals is our ability to use our brains to make money. Do you understand everything I'm saying to you right now, Ms. Animal?
No matter how you view my family and I, it is not going to change what happens next. Because now you've gotten my dad involved after making fun of him like he's some kind of an object. I don't care what kind of work a person does for a living. When it comes to my dad, he takes great pride in what he does and puts all his effort into it in order to support me. And as a father yourself, you have no right to be making fun of someone wearing the same shoes as you.
This is why I keep having to repeat myself, right? The reason I have the right to make fun of him all I want is because he works in a filthy factory of all places. Are you sure you're not aware yet that you're an animal just like him, due to the fact that you still can't seem to understand what I'm saying?
Where one works has no relation to their social standing. Are you aware of that?
That's just something weaklings like yourselves say in order to keep your feelings from being hurt too much, right?
So this means no matter what I try and say to you, you're not going to budge from that hill you stand on? I understand that very much now. You told me after having drenched me in water and forcing me out of your house that you wanted me to go to my dad looking like this.
Ah, now that you mention it, I did say that.
Then allow me to have my dad deal with you. And then I'll make sure that he's the one who gets to deal with you and your inappropriate behavior.
Oh, interesting. But when you act like you guys could do anything to me, I'm sure that's just a bluff since you're nothing more than low-life animals.
All right, then. I guess we won't have to hold back at all when dealing with you then.
Having to watch as a sore loser fights for her life is quite the disgusting sight to be seen. You bitch! Now you've really gone and embarrassed me, lying about how your father was nothing more than a filthy factory worker to me! What the hell will you do to take responsibility for all of this if you cause me to lose my job?
Don't blame me for your own actions. I did what I told you I was going to do, and that was get my dad involved in your mess.
Crap! All you have are your useless excuses! What about him? He's a factory worker. You were hiding the fact that he's the CEO of my company's parent company from me. And furthermore, you went and told him about how I threw water on you and said all of those things about you and him. You are nothing but the devil!
You seem to still think this is all my fault, even though this is the outcome of you making fun of my dad's job. And because of your own self-destructive pride, you acted like you were better than us and that you could act whatever way you wanted. Now, you stop trying to blame me for your own behavior, you man-child.
No way! You were the one that said things in a manner to make me get the wrong idea of you and your father. And now that you've gone and shamed my name, I'm going to fight back and make sure that your father is ruined. I'll make your father regret ever doing anything to slight me. And you know what I'm going to say about your father after this is all over? Due to a slight misunderstanding, Cecilia's father had to end up in such an accident. I'll make sure you guys are to blame for all of it.
You really think something like that will fly when I can just screenshot what you said to me there?
Huh?
All I ever did was tell my dad what happened between you and I, and nothing more. So don't take actions against either of us when we're the ones who are actually acting like normal human beings. Also, when it comes to my dad, he's already 3 steps ahead of you in terms of ending your career.
He's 3 steps ahead of me? What the hell does he think he's going to do to my career and me?
He told me that the first thing he's going to do is have a word with your company's CEO about how you've behaved today.
What? How dare he talk about another company's employee like that? That's called abusing one's power, that is.
What the heck are you blabbering on about? He's not abusing his power when his job is quite literally to talk with other CEOs about their company.
No, he's trying to do something to me in order to protect his daughter. If that right there isn't called him abusing his power, then what the hell is it called?
This has nothing to do with me anymore, Paul. This has to do with all the companies that your company happens to work with, which also have factories that they maintain. And all of those workers in those factories, which you referred to as thoughtless animals and lowlifes, all because they don't work in the office like you do. And you also made the point that they all do as they're commanded by you. That right there is a company-wide issue, if not a field-wide issue, when it comes to all the companies around here your company's been working with. Do you understand what I'm saying yet? None of this was my fault, as I play no part in my dad's company, nor yours. This right here is an outcome you chose when you decided to act like a complete jackass towards my dad and I. The way you behaved today pulled the trigger to the gun you had pointed at your head.
Damn it! A little bitch like you will never be able to listen to what I'm saying. I got your father's business card from my son a second ago, and I will be calling his number now in order to talk to the asshole of all assholes himself. I'm assuming this is Cecilia's father, right? CEO Richard? Would you please find some way to listen to what I have to say? I'm not sure what kind of things you've heard from your daughter Cecilia about me, but you completely misunderstand me. So please, listen to my side of the story and everything I have to say.
Who the hell is calling me and texting me like some kind of animal with its leg caught in a bear trap? I already know about how you dumped freezing cold water on my daughter before kicking her out of your house into the frigid cold of winter. I don't think I have it in me to listen to whatever kind of bullcrap you have left to whine about.
And what I'm trying to say is that what you heard about me is completely wrong. Your daughter, CEO Richard, she lied to me.
When you say she lied to you, are you talking about when she was telling you that I work at a factory?
That's right. I understand that my company happens to run plenty of factories yourself, and so when she said that you work at a factory, that would lead anyone to believe that you are nothing more than a machine operator or someone else of a low-level position, right?
Of course, right now I'm working as the CEO of this company, but before I ever made it to this position, I happened to work as the one thing you seem to despise most, a factory worker.
What? You were a factory worker before? I understand that you want to make what your daughter did seem light, but there's no need to joke about yourself like that.
I'm not freaking joking! You want to know how I got into this position? I worked my ass off for the company from the ground up, starting as a simple 12-hour shift worker.
What the... Well, what the hell? I thought I was having to fight with the real deal here. I don't care what your company calls you now. You will always be that pathetic factory worker. In other words, you are the most useless CEO ever, and far more inferior to me than I first thought. No wonder you've been trying to scare me off like that, because all you brainless dumbasses know to do is make things up. All I have to do now is go and talk with my CEO about you, and he'll take my side in this little brawl, since he knows just as well as I do how little your word actually matters. I'll let him know that someone who used to work as a factory worker should never be trusted.
If there was someone like you who has still not apologized once for what he's done, working under my supervision, I'd have you fired on the spot and escorted out.
Stop whining about how your daughter got a little bit soaked in and left in the cold. She's not even a little baby anymore, so why are you getting so worked up over an adult that should learn to take care of herself?
How about you cut that crap out right now? I don't care if she's 5 years old or 25 years old. You throwing cold water onto someone else in order to drench them and then forcing them out of your house to be in 30-degree weather is screwed up. When I went to get her, she was shivering non-stop, even after having sat for 30 minutes inside a nearby cafe. And as of right now, she's laying in bed with a fever of 101. After what you've done to my daughter, I'd like to see you face to face to show you just how much of an animal I can really be.
Stop making such a big deal about it. It's because you spoil her so much by talking like that she's turned into a useless waste of woman who thinks that it's okay to lie about everything.
Shut it! Ever since Cecilia was a little girl, she's had issues with her immune system. She had to go to the hospital around 10 to 11 times a year because she'd always be getting sick. She's had to struggle with her illness so much all her life that she's experienced life-threatening events more than you or I can account for. And even though she's much older now, her immune system is still weak, and she still falls ill quite often. I'm sure you heard about that from your son when he talked with you about her, right?
Now that you mention it, I guess he did tell me something like that. But even if she has a weak body, she's not a child anymore.
I see. No matter what is said to you, you are just set in stone, unable to move away from your unbelievable ideals. I was going to wait to say this, but now you've left me no choice. You would have been hearing about this from your CEO, but now I'm going to have to tell you about how I've already spoken with him over the phone, and so he's well aware of what you've done and said. And if that wasn't enough for him, he replied by telling me the issues he's already been having with you. About how within the office you harass your workers all the time, right? And you've already been warned about the way you talk to your workers plenty of times. Oh, you're talking about that! They're all just over-exaggerating, calling me some kind of a harassing boss. I'm telling you, recently, all these newer employees the company is hiring on are all pussies! But the thing is, you're the only one who thinks such a thing, because while I was talking with your CEO about you, he told me he was already in the works of having you removed from his company. And after a few words back and forth about how he can get rid of you, we came to a way that will have you removed from his company in no time. Are you saying I'm being fired? I will not allow that to happen. I'm a department manager of all people. Even though you don't bother acting like one? I've seen and heard enough from you to know you're not cut out to work with other people, let alone speak to people in general. And considering that you attacked my daughter and slighted my name all because she said I work in a factory, I've started to believe you're better off working as a janitor or something, since you love to talk so much crap. I haven't done anything wrong, though! The fact that you're even having to say such a thing now shows you've been doing all sorts of things wrong. Go ahead and keep on saying you've done nothing wrong, but I'm not going to listen to you any longer, as I have better things to do, like care for my company. God damn it! Crap! I'm going to talk with my CEO about all of this right now. He'll forget about everything you ever said to him about me the moment a longtime employee who's now a manager goes and has a word with him about this. I wouldn't go into that conversation with him holding high expectations for yourself. He's already decided to have you removed from the office. No way he's already decided on that! Just shut the hell up! And don't you ever come around my daughter or myself ever again. If I find out that you've gone and done anything else to my daughter, I promise you I'll make the trip over to your place and settle this crap like a man. All of you all complaining about me? Screw you all! Had you not come into my life and completely ruined it, everything would be going perfectly for me. I'm not going to let you get away with what you've done, you bitch! I'm getting myself a lawyer and suing your ass!
That's going to be pretty funny to watch, considering I'm the victim of a crime.
Stop acting all tough now just because your daddy's the CEO of a company. Because of you, my wife is now abandoning me, and my one and only child, Tanner, is also getting ready to leave. Did you tell him anything else about me that's made him hate me that way?
How would I be able to talk to him when you're the one that blocked my number on his phone? And he didn't have to hear anything else from me after what you did, because he learned that day that you are nothing more than a fat schoolyard bully.
Shut up! I'm not going to be preached to by a brat like you. I'm not holding back anymore. I'm going to make you take total responsibility for all you've done to my once perfect life. I'm going to make you pay me in a settlement that will keep you from ever retiring, so I hope you're ready to work your life away as a slave. And considering you're the daughter of a CEO, your daddy will have all the money I could ever ask for after being made the victim of such a terrible crime. How about this? Go tell Daddy to get $100 million ready for me. Then, once you've both paid it all off, I might be willing to forgive you. I know how much he cares about a whining bitch like you, so he'll do anything to make sure the settlement is paid off to me.
How much more do you have to keep jerking your cock before you'll finally have busted your load? I already told you to cut it out making fun of my dad like that. Sure, my dad was a factory worker when he first started out, but that was only because right after my mom had me, she passed away. He would leave me with my older sister during the day to go work 12 hours a day, 5 days a week at that factory. All to take care of my sister and I, never being able to see either of us because we were always asleep when he got home. He worked like that for years and years, all while also making sure to study up on the company so that he could move up the ladder one rung at a time. And now that he's made it all the way up to being the CEO of that company, I cannot respect him enough. I thank him every time I see him for the time and energy he gave for his family. And I will not have you sitting there making fun of him any longer.
Oh, that's what I expected a brain-dead bitch like you to ramble on about, immediately biting back at whatever tries to get close, just like a dog. Do you really think I care about how much your daddy had to work for you guys? Hell no! The only thing I care to think about right now is how much money I can milk from you both in a settlement for having gone and ruined my life. And once I have all that money from you guys, I'm sure both my wife and son will come back to me.
I knew someone like you only cared about two things in life: money and your image. I will never be able to understand such selfish pigs like yourself, but I can understand now why you no longer have the ability to listen to my dad or I anymore.
If you can understand why, then shut your goddamn pie hole and pay me the settlement. Then I can finish all of this without even having to worry about paying for a lawyer.
Are you sure? Are you sure you have the ability to take me to court and sue me over your self-inflicted damage? Because I really don't think you can.
Huh? What are you talking about now? I'm not listening to the howls of a sore loser anymore, you bitch.
You still haven't heard everything then yet. Did you really think that after being dismissed from the office and not being allowed to work that the company would just leave you be and not do anything? Because you'd be terribly mistaken, as right now your company's HR department is investigating all of those occurrences that have been reported regarding your workplace harassment. And in some of those investigations, your CEO was able to get in touch with former employees of yours. There happens to be close to 57 different people who are wanting to take you to court now for over 173 different cases of workplace harassment, and they will be allowed to do so now with the evidence the company has gained. Or at least that's what I've been told.
I'm being sued now? Over something like workplace harassment? What the hell are they all thinking?
The only one you should be asking that about right now is yourself, considering your complete lack of ethics. Think about it. Once all of those victims of yours have taken you to court and you've had to pay them all out for what you've done, will you really be able to talk crap about anyone or do anything to anyone anymore? I think it's time you give up trying to be this top dog, whatever the heck, and get ready to call up your bank.
No way. I don't have that kind of money right now. I've already been told by my wife that I need to get my accounts in order for the divorce. And now you're saying I have to pay all of those victims I harassed? What the hell am I supposed to do here?
I don't know. That all sounds like a problem that you'll be dealing with alone.
I've got it. I'll allow you to get married to Tanner now. So would you please do something to stop all of those people from trying to sue me now? I'll be willing to settle with all of them outside of court for a smaller amount, and I'll stop calling myself the top dog if that's what you want.
And what would be in it for me then?
What would be in it for you? You can't be asking for something for yourself right now. You and I are family now, right?
What? Family? We were close to becoming one a little while back, sure, but after what you ended up doing, you ended any chance of that ever happening.
Cecilia, I promise to apologize to you for everything I've done up until now. At the very least, could you give me one last chance to have a word with your father about this? He's already gone and blocked my number, and I'm no longer able to find any way to get in touch with him.
That's my dad's answer to your actions, so there is nothing I can do to change that. And pretty soon here, I'll be blocking your number as well. Therefore...
I don't have a job or any money anymore, and both of my family members are about to leave me. What am I supposed to do in a situation like this?
I don't really care. How about you use that perfect head of yours to come up with an answer to that?
What? You absolute whore! Hey! Don't just run away from our conversation like that! Damn it!
Dad, I'm coming home now.
Do you want me to come and get you from the bus station?
You don't have to do that for me. Tanner's coming out to take me home from here.
I see. I guess if he's going to take care of you, I don't have to worry.
How could a man like Tanner's father be such a dick when Tanner himself is so kind and thoughtful?
As a man who has dealt with many types of men throughout my life, I know there are men like him out there who happen to get caught up in thinking they're the best due to their money and status, and are willing to throw away all their humanity in order to continue feeding their pride, which has grown too large for them to carry without sacrifice.
I know what happened kind of sucked, but at least I was able to figure out the kind of monster he was right away and didn't have to learn down the road after finally becoming family to him. I think it was a good thing getting drenched like that, right?
Don't say things like that! You had me worried sick when that happened!
It was just a little joke, Dad. Sorry for always making you so worried about me, Dad.
No. That isn't something you need to apologize for. As your father, it's my job to always be worried for you, and therefore I always will be, no matter what's happening.
Thank you for saying that, Dad. I've always appreciated you for being so open with me about that. But promise me that you'll cut back on always treating me like a kid, because I really do need to start taking care of things on my own from now on. After having lost all ties to his family and having lost his house in the divorce, Paul was forced to run away from them. With no money and no place to work anymore, he tried his best to find another job quickly, but all of the offices in town heard about what he'd been getting sued for, and so he was forced to look elsewhere. He went around asking smaller businesses if he'd be able to work for them, and would always brag about the kind of manager he was at all of the interviews he could get. But of course, nobody was willing to hire such an arrogant man, especially when they're still acting like all of that workplace harassment was a good thing and a skill. After about a week of no luck anywhere and no place to call home quite yet, Paul ended up having to become more desperate than before, as he knew the time was drawing near for him to have to go to court. And so in the end, he would end up in the one place he made fun of so much, and that was a factory just outside of town processing cow crap into good manure for farms. He would soon be called to court not too long after starting his job there, and after having to pay close to $127,000 for all of his victims, he would barely have any money left over from his paychecks. In other words, turning him into quite literally a low-life nobody. After Tanner's family had all disowned Paul and cut ties to him for good, talks about our marriage were able to resume and we could work on planning the wedding. And just like that, he and I finally had the chance to go to the courthouse and get married. My dad happens to really love Tanner, and they will joke a lot about how my dad wants to make him the next CEO of the company. However, no matter how much those two joke about it, in my eyes, I can see that there might be a slight amount of seriousness to their talks, and that my dad may someday actually give his position to Tanner. And as for myself, I have a doctor's appointment coming up pretty soon, and that's where I'll be learning if our family will really gain a new little life in it or not. I'm sure neither my husband, my dad, or the rest of my family will be expecting something like this yet, but if I really do have something small coming, that'll sure be the surprise of a lifetime for everyone at home.